What's going on, guys? DJ F here. Smash the like button, and today we're going to be talking about two of the arguably most popular DAWs out, and that is Ableton Live and FL Studio, in a compare and contrast video of which is better. So let's do this, shall we?
Crabtendo.
So, I just want to point out that I do work with more than just FL Studio, obviously, because I'm a music producer and engineer. I've done my research between the two, and I do want to bring out the things that matter the most about them. But please leave a comment below, and we're going to go ahead and start with the G.U.I. So FL Studio first. FL Studio has like a pattern-based layout. It does have a piano roll. Obviously, you can just go ahead and right click on the channel and it'll pull up the piano roll. But then you start noticing one main thing already that will turn a lot of people off, and that is the amount of page travel between the screens and stuff like that. Definitely the DAWs have that difference in them. FL Studio has the playlist, and you have to assign channels to different parts of the insert, which all those things kind of take up time when you're trying to create stuff, as well as navigate through the patterns if you want to lay out everything individually after you lay it out on one pattern. So yeah, that is quite a boner killer there, but it is what it is. You can get used to that, and a lot of people have, but that's overwhelming for beginners. Ableton Live has a more straightforward layout where you don't have to assign things to the mixer. It's already assigned to the mixer, as well as you would generate each and individual track within itself. On the right hand side, everything is readily available to you, so it's not as much page travel between that, which makes it a little bit more intuitive. So Ableton Live wins that, obviously. The second thing I want to point out here is definitely that we're talking about the 64-bit versions of these, and I'm talking about Ableton Live 9.6 versus FL Studio 12.4, which are the more current versions right now at this time. Again, I'm going to be talking about VST support. So Ableton Live supports 64-bit plugins only, and that's out the box. However, you can use a third-party software called J.Bridge, so you can support 32-bit plugins. FL Studio supports 32-bit plugins and 64-bit plugins. So, and you can navigate through different things in terms of the plugin manager, so you can set the folders after the fact, so you don't really have to install it all in one place. However, Ableton Live has updated that to where it will look for all through your respective directories for your VST plugins that it knows. So it does that, and it loads every new plugin at the splash screen. So I do want to point that out there. So a slight edge to FL Studio there. You win. So Midi support, and this is really crazy right here. Both support Midi, obviously. However, Ableton Live, I believe, has a less complicated way to arrange your Midi versus FL Studio, again, because FL Studio has more page travel. You had to go through options and all that, and then it could kind of throw you off. And then certain MIDI controllers do not work for FL Studio off top, and it's because Ableton Live, again, takes advantage of MIDI CC like none other. FL Studio can work with other things that Ableton Live cannot, as far as MMC, which is Mackie Control language. So, it could take advantage of that, but that doesn't hinder Ableton Live users as well, because they have things like Ableton Push, where you can take full advantage of that. But FL Studio is not left out in the dark, because Nectar has dedicated MIDI controllers that work fully to integrate with FL Studio. So to each his own there. However, I will say respectively that Ableton Push is really good in terms of integrating with their software and to the workflow of Ableton Live. So I will have to give it to them there, but there are options out there that you can get, and I've obviously used them. Automation, both DAWs have automation, though Ableton Live seems a little bit more intuitive, because all the automation is listed under each individual track, so that is very convenient, while FL Studio, again, has to do a lot more page navigation. However, FL Studio has a little bit more options in terms of automation, as you can have your automation self-oscillate. So it's really cool that you can do that within FL Studio. You just have to learn that. And again, Image Line, me, Seamless, and many other people on YouTube have many tutorials about automation in FL Studio, as well as many people that represent Ableton. And so you can get a further gist of it. But I think Ableton, again, with that part of the workflow, kind of capitalizes on that, because whatever, but the choice is either or. So I guess I give that a coin flip for both of them. First party plugins. So this could be a little subjective, because I know people are going to say, well, this first party plugin within Ableton Live is better than FL Studios and vice versa. But you know, when it comes to quantity, which is always the great thing, but you know, it's still out there that you have a lot of options. FL Studio capitalizes on that due to the fact that it's been out longer than Ableton Live. They do have a lot of native plugins for you depending on what bundle that you buy. Off top, they both provide a lot of stuff depending on how much money you spend on your DAW because of package deals. However, again, FL Studio still wins over on that, especially when it comes to samples and stuff. ASIO, Midi, Latency, both DAWs have ASIO drivers. However, both suffer from the same latency issues. Those issues are kind of things that hardware don't have to deal with. If you deal with individual hardware or independent hardware that's standalone, hardware is going to be more superior. But you know, Ableton Live, I do believe it has a little bit more of an advantage over FL Studio, because once you are going into the options in FL Studio and all that and dealing with that, which you can set your audio buffer rates and stuff like that, it still will have some latency issues there. And you know, you can avoid them by going into mixer mode and setting an offset. But again, FL Studio has a drawback of where CPU usage is dedicated more towards your latency being 0, and that means that other things will start kind of bugging out and causing for CPU overloads. But that's also subjective because of hardware, so it depends on what PC or laptop you have. I do have a high specs gaming laptop, but you know, it is what it is when it comes to that. Audio and time stretching. Both DAWs can record audio. If you didn't know that about FL Studio, yes it can. They also can time stretch, and that's exclusive to FL Studio 12.4, so you can stretch stuff in real time and change the BPM and everything will adjust. Ableton Live's been doing that for the Giddy Up. That's probably one of the main reasons why a lot of DJs use Ableton Live for live sets. So yeah, keep that in mind. However, when it comes to audio editing, I think that Edison is one of the things that makes FL Studio a little better than Ableton. Even though Ableton has an audio editor that's readily available at the bottom of the screen, whatever audio track that you're trying to edit, Edison has a lot of features that you can use, especially if you're a sound designer. It is really convenient for when you are trying to record something in from hardware into FL Studio, that you can press one button and get rid of all the negative space that you have in between your loop or whatever you're recording in FL Studio. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out, that Edison is the bomb. And again, that's bundle dependent, depending on what bundle that you got for FL Studio. But you know, Ableton Live can render, obviously has acid loop codecs in it, so you know, that's not totally exclusive to creating stuff in the FL Studio, but I do have a tutorial on that if you want to learn more about that in FL Studio. But you know, so they kind of draw even there. And you know, I know people want to talk about audio quality, so I want to talk about audio rendering or bouncing down tracks. Both DAWs allow you to separate tracks individually. Of course, FL Studio, there's a little bit more work because you have to put it in the insert mixer first before you do that. And also it has one huge drawback, that it bounces down each individual track as a stereo instead of mono, which is a pain in the butt cheeks if you are an engineer and you have to pull in an arrangement to mix in like Pro Tools or Logic or something like that in the big boy studios. So that's kind of an issue with FL Studio that it needs to improve, because they definitely need to have that mono thing. As well as one other big thing about FL Studio, and is that if you do something on the master bus, it does not translate into each individual track when you're separating the tracks. So if you put a gross beat at the end of a master bus, you will be SOL, because it will not print out all the gross beat animations that you did. in the master bus. However, in Ableton, it will do that per separate track. So yeah, that's a clear advantage for Ableton Live. FL Studio does have more options when it comes to rendering stuff as well, but you know, Ableton is able to push out a WAV file and an AIFF file, and you'll find that messing with MP3 files is a little bit more messy because of course MP3s are compressed files, so you start getting things like extra loudness that won't sound the same as what it was when it was in the DAW and you was mixing it. So that is far less convenient. So Ableton wins there. Finally, last but not least, I want to talk about updates. FL Studio, once you buy it once, it's free updates from that point on. So that means that if you bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and beyond that, is free. So yeah, Ableton Live, of course, if you bought 9 or 8 or 7 or whatnot, every single number alliteration, you definitely have to pay a cross-grade price. Hopefully Ableton Live might change that, and you never know, might be because of this video. But anyways, that's basically about it, guys. Thank you much for your time. I'm DJ Ab. Please comment below, tell me what I might have left out, and you know, what will support the argument that it is, or which one is better. They definitely both have their places here. It's kind of hard to argue which is better. I am DJ Av. Thank you so much for your time. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.
Traptendo.